Hi there, my name is Isaac, and I just bought a Rav Vast drum, so I'm going to be making some videos to be able to chronicle my experience with them. This is going to be the first part of a three-part video series. In this first part, I'm going to explain and tell you about why I bought a Rav Vast drum and explain my experience of buying it. In the second part, we're actually going to unbox it, and I'm going to play it a bit when I first unbox it and see what's inside of this big package. And the third part of the video is going to be me playing the drum after I've gotten a little bit better with it, because this is my first Rav Vast drum, and I'm probably not going to be very good right off the bat. So I primarily purchased the Rav Vast drum as a relaxation tool. I purchased this drum at the beginning of 2021. That was right towards the end, but I didn't know it was the end of the COVID pandemic. And having instruments during the COVID pandemic really helped me sort of help my mind escape my apartment and help me relax. Up until then, in the middle of the COVID pandemic, I had purchased a ukulele and a kalimba, both of which are relatively easy to play and allow you to just sort of strum away and let your worries wash away. I fell in love with the Rav Vast drum because it only has 9 or 10 notes, and those notes are synchronized together, most of the time panharmonic, not always. And that makes them surprisingly easy to play, and it makes it sort of hard to mess up, per se. All the notes sort of flow together in this really nice, harmonious, melodious way. I also really liked particularly the Rav Vast in comparison to some of the other tongue drums that I saw on Amazon because of its size. The other tongue drums I saw on Amazon were much smaller than what the Rav Vast ends up coming to be, and because of that, because it's a drum, obviously the larger the size of a drum you're going to have, the more resonance you're going to have and the more volume. And that's important when you're considering a meditation tool. Plus you're getting a more bassy tone to it. That was my primary reason for picking a Rav Vast drum. This is a bit of a difficult purchase for me because Rav Vast drums are significantly more expensive than the other items that I purchased before. My kalimba was less than $40, and my ukulele was less than $200, but the Rav Vast drum, at least this one, with shipping, after all things were considered, was $860-ish. But after getting the kalimba and after getting the ukulele, I came across the Rav Vast. I came across certain tongue drums, did some research, and eventually came across the Rav Vast and event, just fell in love with it. And I had to have it, so I saved up some money and got some very generous gifts around my birthday. And that allowed me to pick this up. So I wanted to address in this video the experience that I had purchasing a Rav Vast drum. There is the base website, ravvast.com, that is absolutely amazing, and all these drums are made from a single producer in Russia. It's just one person that makes them all. Ravvast.com is the website for that manufacturer and for the store that's associated with it. The original drum I wanted, though, was tuned in, at least the first drum I wanted, was tuned in G minor pentatonic. And when I was selecting drums, and the great thing about ravvast.com specifically is they have a library of different electronic drums you could play. So if you wanted the G minor pentatonic, you can go onto their website and they'll have a little picture of it there, and you can click on the different parts of the drum where the notes are and it will simulate that noise. It's obviously not the same as playing it in person, but it allows you to get a good feel of how the notes harmonize with each other and what type of songs you can create and what type of melody you'll be creating with it. So after playing around with that a lot, really enjoying it, I figured out that I wanted one of three drums, either the G minor pentatonic, the A Marmara, or the B Kurd. So I settled on the G minor pentatonic, but the downside is that ravvast.com specifically didn't have any G minor pentatonics in stock. And when I messaged their personnel, they said it was going to take an unknown amount of time, up to 4 weeks until they did. I could pre-order it, but I didn't want to wait 4 weeks to get a drum and then get it shipped over to me even after that. And even if that 4 weeks wasn't set, I wanted to deal with a drum they had in stock. So what I did instead was I went to a secondary distributor. In this case, I chose hang-drums.com, who across the board have been very nice, with one kind of really key exception to that. They, on their website, had Rav Vast drums available for sale, as well as a few others, and I was interested, and I purchased a G minor pentatonic, one of the drums that I wanted. And they said, great, that's fine. Let's have your payment information. Fantastic. They said, okay, we're also in Russia. We need to ship it to you. It's going to be a pretty big chunk of money, but I was fine with that. I knew that going in, so I sent it. And then they said, great, we're going to process your order and we'll send it to you in a couple of days. And about 5 or so days came by when the processing time was supposed to be closer to 2 or 3. And, I messaged them and I hadn't gotten any information. I said, hey, have you guys processed the order? What's going on with this whole thing? And they then informed me afterwards, yes, it ends up we also don't have the G minor pentatonic in stock, right? So I was quite upset at that point because I had waited and I had done a lot of work and I finally found somebody who had to, at least the website didn't say it was out of stock. The website said it was in stock. And when they sent this email to me saying we're actually out of stock, their website still said it was in stock. So their website didn't seem to have a function to indicate that drums were out of stock when they were. And I said, I'd like my money back. I'll find a different distributor. I'll message them beforehand to make sure they have it in stock. Right, I'd like my money back. And they sent the money that I paid for shipping separately back to me very quickly. They sent it through PayPal, and it took a couple of days, not a problem. But the bulk of the money for the actual drum itself, for a G minor pentatonic drum, I believe it was around $650, they have a specialized system over there in Russia, and they couldn't send me back that money for some reason, the way they explained it, until somebody else sent that same amount of money, sent a different $650 through that system and made an additional purchase. I waited close to a week for that to happen, and it didn't. And when I messaged them asking when it's going to take, they said they didn't know how long it's going to take. It just take forever, right? This was very painful for me because I had been really wanting. This is after a long process of searching and selecting and finding exactly what type of tongue drum, or if I wanted something larger than that. Figuring out that I wanted a Rav Vast drum, choosing all of the different types of tuning, selecting the right type of tuning, getting it all perfect. And then finally making the order and then waiting. It was overall quite stressful. So while I was waiting for those 5 days for them to refund me that money for the actual drum, I was playing around with the RavVast.com drum sort of simulator, allowing me to play with different notes. And I sort of realized that, maybe I didn't want the G minor pentatonic so much. Maybe I was more leaning towards the B Kurd. Earlier with hang-drums.com, they had mentioned that if I wanted to get a different drum, they could shift it out and not ship the G minor pentatonic, but I was in love with the G minor pentatonic, and at the time I was a bit upset, and I said, please just refund me my money instead of shifting it out. After the 5 days of waiting for them to refund me my money and not refunding my money, I then said, hey, can we just cancel the refund, and can I get a B Kurd instead? And they said yes. The cancellation took a little bit, but it did go through. They got the B Kurd together, they shipped it to me, and now it's finally here. I'm bringing all of this up so that anybody else who sees these videos and the other 2 videos that are going to go along in this little series and purchases a Rav Vast drum themselves, try to message the people that you're going to purchase it from and verify that they've got it in stock first. And I wanted to bring this up as well. Rav Vast drums only have 9 or 10 notes. So having those notes in the right tune is extremely important for getting the experience that you want. If you have it in a minor scale, you're going to have a much more mysterious, moody tone. If you have it in a major scale, it's going to be a lot happier. I think overall they all sound amazing, but I actually really dislike the way the major scales sound. Not specific to Rav Drast, specific for Rav Vast, specific to everything. So making sure that you get the right tuning on that's really important. And the great thing about Rav Vast drums is they have, I think, more than 20 tunings. They have quite some number of them. And the other tongue drums that I've seen online have 1 or 2 tunings that they come in. And if you want to get that second tuning, you have to drastically change the drum, right? It's a different size, or it only comes in 1 color, while the other one comes in like 5 or 6 colors. Rav Vast does have its benefits in this way. And if you are going to make a purchase on that, my advice to you, based on my experience, is just to verify that those people that you're buying it from have it in stock. And you should and can definitely use the RavVast.com Play My Instrument tool to be able to simulate what those noises are going to sound like and get a feel for your instrument before you even have to make a purchase on it. It's a really great note. For RavVast.com, a little word to you, your instrument tool is amazing, but it doesn't have the full library of drums you have available. I was really interested actually in the F-Sen tuning of the drum, which you have videos on, but it's not on the little library that you could play your own instruments on. So it'd be great if you kept that more up to date and it had a larger selection of the drums you actually have available for purchase. And for hangdrums.com, I gave them a bit of a hard time because their refund system is kind of whack, and their website doesn't update to show what they accurately have in stock. On the flip side, they did respond to me via email in a timely and promptly manner, usually within a day, except for on weekends. And to that credit, overall it was a satisfying experience. I understand it was a bit complicated and it wasn't ideal, but I could have definitely gotten shafted a lot harder after sending $800+ over to a company in Russia that I have no way of being able to work on except for shouting into the internet. So I would still purchase from them again, but again, I just make sure that they have what I needed in stock. So in this first video, in this last part of it, I want to talk a little bit about why I selected a B Kurd specific tuning. As I mentioned earlier, the tuning of a drum for your Ravvast is very important, especially if you're not going to be making a huge collection of them because they're quite expensive. The major tunings are going to sound a lot more happier, and the minor tunings are going to sound a lot more mysterious, which is fine. I have a preference on that. The other thing to take into consideration is that Ravvast drums only have 9 or 10 notes. So the tuning of those is extraordinarily important for what type of songs you're going to play. Specifically speaking, when tuning into a Ravvast or when purchasing a Ravvast, it's very often that different notes will repeat in higher or lower octaves. So you might have an A, E, D in one lower octave, and then as part of an extra 3 notes in that same drum, you'll have an A, E, D in a higher octave as well. And when you only have 9 or 10 notes to work with, adding in an extra 3 notes at a higher octave obviously consumes a lot of your note space. The reason that the drums might do this is because the more repeating notes that you have, the easier it's going to be for you to create with that drum a flowing, melodic, sort of beautiful experience that's going to sound really, really good. And the more unique notes you have, the more non-repeating notes you have, if you have more of those, you're going to have the ability to more accurately replicate, or have more songs you can replicate from popular media, or have more different types of sounds you can create with that single individual drum. For my purposes, this was a bit unique because I'm not going to be playing this as a big instrumentalist. I'm not, like, I play instruments, but I don't play them well or professionally at all. And I'm not trying to play this into some sort of band or play this with a drum circle. I'm just looking to slap this around in my own apartment and zen out and sort of play around with it and have a good time. And because of that, it benefits me to be able to have a drum that I won't make mistakes with, per se. And having more repeating notes means that it's harder to make mistakes, and whatever you just might hit is going to sound really good. An excellent example of this would be the F-sharp Sen drum that Ravvast offers, which is a beautiful Japanese Asian sounding drum. That drum has 10 notes in total, 5 of which are splayed out at a lower octave, and those same 5 repeated over into a different higher octaves. So in total they only have 5 different notes, but 2 full octaves worth. And it sounds really, really good. It sounds beautiful, but it only creates a very particular type of sound. If you want to play anything outside of the realm of that sound, that drum's not going to be able to replicate that. The 3 drums that I originally selected were the A Marmara, the G minor pentatonic, and the B Kurd. And what I sort of found out is that the A Marmara was sort of closer on the tilted end of the F-Sen and having more of a narrow tune and a narrow sort of note library that it can work with. The G minor pentatonic was in the middle of that entire spectrum for what I was selecting, and the B Kurd was the most flexible of those 3. I really enjoyed the way the G minor pentatonic sounded, but in the end I decided I wanted to go a little more flexible, because in the period of time, the 1 month or so that it took for me to finally, from the start of placing this order to receiving it, in that 1 month period, I started playing my ukulele a lot more, and I was really glad that I had such a flexibility of notes, and I thought to myself, I just want a little more flexibility. This is something for you to take into consideration before you buy your first drum as well. So you might not want to pick something that has the most flexibility, and if you do want that, you're going to want something that has the least amount of notes that repeat from octave to octave. You can play your individual drums online at ravvast.com. You can test them out and make a decision based on that. But I'm really looking forward to opening this instrument. That's what the next part of this video is going to be, of this video series, is I'm going to do an unboxing and it's going to be one continuous take, and I'm going to not edit it whatsoever, and I'm going to see what my reactions are, and I'm going to play on it just a little bit. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was informative, and I hope this helps you make a decision or give you some information about whether or not you want to purchase a Ravvas drum. For the record, this content is not sponsored, but if Hang Drums or Ravvas wants to get to me and sponsor me, I would be glad to do that in exchange for more drums to be able to try and review. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time in the next video where I do the unboxing and crack open this big old package.